guys, it's Miss Reed. Today is Friday, April 17th. Today we are doing part 2 of lesson 6 about volcanoes, geysers, and hot springs. So when you go into Google Classroom, you'll see these materials. There's actually not an additional reading today because I split this lesson into 2 lessons. So the first thing you're going to do is open Google Slides, which you hopefully already did. And you're going to follow along with this video that you opened up just now. So this is lesson 6, part 2. This is an example of a hot spring. You can always see the heat coming off it, and an example of a volcano. Your objectives today, we're going to determine where to insert quotation marks and commas in sentences containing direct quotes or dialogue. We're going to identify the meaning of the root rupt and use these words in sentences, and practice spelling words based on familiar root words. So, quotation marks and commas. One way, there's multiple ways, but one way quotation marks are used in writing is to show that a statement has been taken directly from another text and is being quoted or written exactly as it appears in the original text. So this is why we use commas when we're giving evidence in our quotation marks when we're giving evidence in our race responses and our written responses, because we are not going to be taking credit for the ideas that are inside the text that we took straight from the text. So this is an example. Let's say this is an erase response that we wrote. The text states, comma, quotation mark, erupting volcanoes are dramatic natural events, period, quotation mark. So, first thing, we use a comma to show a pause, because we naturally pause there when we said the text states, erupting volcanoes. And to separate the first part of the sentence, the text states, that's the text tag, the evidence tag, from the second part of the sentence. Erupting volcanoes are dramatic natural events. So we wanted to separate where we got the information from what was actually said. So that's why we separated it with a comma. Remember that whatever is directly quoted, whatever is being taken word for word from the text, in this case it was erupting volcanoes are dramatic natural events, it needs to be inside quotation marks. Now we also have something called split or interrupted quotations. So quotation marks aren't always so simply the text said and then quotation marks around something. So sentences can be organized differently so that the quotation is split up within the sentence. So you've definitely seen examples of this before in reading, but without noticing probably. But this is an example of a split or interrupted quotation. Quotation marks. Erupting volcanoes, quotation mark, the text states, are dramatic natural events. So again, the quotation marks are used only around what is directly taken from the text. So what was directly taken from the text is erupting volcanoes are dramatic natural events. So that's the only thing that has quotation marks around it. The comma after volcanoes, this comma, still separates what's being quoted from the text tag. The text tag, remember, is like what it's we're giving credit where it came from. The text states. And it shows that we need a pause there. So remember, erupting volcanoes, the text states, because we took a pause there and it's separating what is being said from our text tag. We also have a comma after the text states and before our dramatic natural events, because we are separating what the text does, again, the text tag, the text states, from, sorry, I just messed that up, from what's actually being quoted. So our dramatic natural events. So we're separating it again, and because we take a pause there. So listen where we take a pause. Erupting volcanoes, the text states, are dramatic natural events. So you can naturally see where we pause. These are additional examples of split quotations. And remember, split quotation just means that it's split up in the sentence. Part has quotations, part doesn't. It's just mixed up. So example 1, what, I asked my friends, is your favorite color? The words what and is your favorite color are what are actually being said. So that's what actually is being said out loud. What and is your favorite color? Quotation marks should go around only those parts of the sentence because they're what's actually being said out loud. The speech tag, I asked my friends, should have a comma before and after it to separate what's being said and to show pauses in speech. So again, we're separating what's not said from what is said out loud, and because we're showing pauses. Like we would say, what, ask my friends, is your favorite color? So you can hear when we naturally pause. That's where we need a comma. So example 2, green. Seth responded, is my favorite color. Again, you can see the quotation marks are only around green and is my favorite color because that's actually what's being said out loud. There's commas before the speech tag, which the speech tag is Seth responded, and after the speech tag to show a pause and to separate what's being said from just the simple speech tag of saying who's saying it. So what you're going to do now is you are going to practice using quotation marks and commas on your Google Doc. I'm going to do the first one for you so that you can have an example. So it says, for each sentence, insert a comma or commas and quotation marks in the appropriate locations. Make sure to correctly punctuate, so periods and capital letters for each sentence. So this is an example. The time he explained is 3:47 p.m. So right here we put quotation marks around the time, comma before the speech tag he explained, comma after it is 3:47 p.m. has quotation marks around it because those are the words that are actually being said out loud. So again, let's look at number 1. You don't have to look hard, the teacher said, to find rocks. So what is actually being said out loud is you don't have to look hard. And the teacher said is not what she's saying out loud. That's the speech tag. So I'm going to put quotation marks around you don't have to look hard and to find rocks, because she's actually saying you don't have to look hard to find rocks, but we're interrupting, we're splitting the quotation in between that sentence. So I'm going to put quotation marks around to find rocks. And I noticed there's not a period there, so I'm going to put a period at the end of that sentence because every sentence should have a punctuation mark at the end of it. Now remember, when we use our commas, we're separating the speech tag from what's actually being said out loud. So you don't have to look hard, the teacher said. So I need to separate you don't have to look hard from the teacher said. And I'm going to put the comma right there before the quotation marks. And again, I want to separate to find rocks from the teacher actually said, because this is what she's saying out loud, and this is just a speech tag to tell us who said it. So again, another comma would go right there. So you're going to practice and you're going to do the rest of these. Make sure you click submit so you can get full credit for it. Go ahead and pause and do that now. Okay, so after you've finished your work with the quotation marks and the commas and submitted that document, we're going to talk about the root word rupt. So whenever you see rupt in a word, it means to break or to burst. We can add prefixes on the beginning of rupt, or we can add suffixes to the end of rupt to change the part of speech. So you can change it to a noun, a verb, an adjective, adverbs. So there's examples of different words that use rupt as their root, but have different prefixes or suffixes on them to change the meaning. So if you look at the next slide, we have different words with the root rupt. So abrupt, we have a different, see we can prefix, the AB prefix means sudden and unexpected. It's an adjective, breaking through suddenly. The firefighter had to make an abrupt departure from his home after learning about a nearby fire. And you can take your time and go through the rest of these examples on your own. Disrupt has the prefix dis on front of the root word rupt. Uninterrupted has a whole lot going on, but it also has rupt in it. And rupture is another word, but these are all different examples of words that have the root rupt in them, but how they can change from adjectives, verbs, nouns when we add different affixes to them. Now, these are your spelling words and their vocabulary words that I'm just going to go through and read to you, and you're going to have a Google form quiz on this and on the word, the words with the word rupt in them. So first spelling word, vocabulary word is hierarchy, a system in which people are placed in the social classes of different levels of power and importance. 2, matriarch, a woman who controls a family, group, or government. 3, arch rival, a chief or main rival or opponent. 4, anarchy, a situation not controlled by rules or laws and without a leader. 5, autograph, a person's handwritten signature. 6, biographer, A person who writes the story of someone else's life. 7 is calligraphy. It's the art of beautiful handwriting. 8 is paragraph. A piece of writing that includes a few sentences focused on a certain subject in an organized manner. You know what a paragraph is. 9, eruption. The process of sending out rock, lava, and ash in a sudden explosion, or an event in which something breaks or bursts in a sudden and often violent way. 10 is uninterrupted. It means continuing without breaking or being stopped by something. And 11 is rupture, a break or burst, abrupt, sudden, and unexpected, breaking through suddenly. So what you're going to do now is you are going to complete the Google form on that. You also have a practice spelling word sort. It's very easy. You are going to sort those spelling words we just went over by the root word that they have in them. So example, like in uninterrupted, you would place in the rupt because it has rupt in it. So you're basically sorting them whether or not they have the arch root in it, if they have graph root in it, or if they have the rupt root in it. So you're going to sort them. It's very easy. It should take you no time. Make sure you submit it to get credit. And then after you finish that, you are going to do the Google form, which is, again, the definitions and the vocabulary words should be an easy 100 for you. Remember, I can tell if you're doing it based off of the score that you get. The answers are literally right here in the Google slides. So take your time and do a good job so that you can be entered into the pizza raffle for this week.